nothing, control everything.
Yes.
And that's, that's kind of where that comes from. Whereas, a lot of wealthy people, they don't really, and they're not really in a hurry to have their name on everything. And this goes back to even that versus battle with Jeezy and Gucci. And when Jeezy said he owns half Atlanta, and then, of course, people on social media, they got to Googling, and they was like, well, it actually comes out that he only owns one house in Macon, Georgia.
So what he's talking about here is utilizing the trust to be able to grow and accumulate more wealth for you and your family, where you are not the owner, but the trust is the owner of all your assets.
Big business.
What's going on? It's Joe Smith, aka Mr. Businessman, host of the YouTube channel Big Business. We're talking about identity, mindset, infinite banking concept, and today we're gonna go over a video about Earn Your Leisure. We're gonna talk about how to use life insurance to accumulate more wealth tax-free for you and your family.
Then there's another wave of social media people that was like, well, you don't, just because your name is not attached to it doesn't mean that you don't.
Surprise.
That's actually more beneficial because just how you found out that he owns that house, like, don't you think that it would probably be beneficial that you wouldn't be able to find it out? And it's like, that's why people own things and trust and LLCs and different things of that nature for protection on a legal side, but also to take things out of their personal estate, because there's a thing called estate taxes. So this is extremely important, where it's like, okay, as you're accumulating wealth and you become wealthy, this information might not apply to you right now, but God willing, it will apply to you in the future. And this is the whole point of why you're watching Market Mondays, right? So when you're 10 million up and when you're 20 million up, now you got a whole different set of problems. It's not like your problems aren't money. Your problems are keeping money.
Yes.
That's extremely important. Getting money is one thing. Keeping money is a whole different ballgame. And that's the part that they never taught you. They never really taught you how to get money, but some people are smart enough to figure it out. But you definitely wasn't taught how to keep money. Because even if you get money, it could just be a fluke. They'll let you have money for 20 years, 30 years, but that's not really no real money, because ultimately you're just going to give it back in 30 years anyway. When you die, your family, the IRS, everybody's just going to come, and then, one generation, you back to where you started.
So what they're talking about here is having access to a trust and an LLC. So when you have access to a trust, your trust can be the owner of your LLC. It takes all the liability off of you being the owner of that LLC. It's one of the things that the wealthy people use to get ahead in life.
This is extremely important to understand. So when you hear the word trust, it's just important. I wanted to kind of give that groundwork. Another
notepad time? I just want to know if it's notepad time.
Yes, this is important.
Right, let's do this then.
It's always notepad.
Let's do this then. Let's do this then.
Yes.
Money Green, let's go.
Money Green, the money team.
Hey.
So there's a difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Let's put this out there right away, because I'm not going through this with you. Oh, this tax evasion is a federal crime that you will be penalized for, and you'll probably go to jail if you ever get caught. This is when you're purposely avoiding paying taxes and you're lying on your income and you're not reporting income. That is tax evasion. That's illegal, and you should never do that under any circumstances. Tax avoidance is the practice of minimizing the taxes that you owe in a legal and efficient manner. This is something that smart people do and wealthy people have been doing for a very long period of time. Tax avoidance is not tax evasion. They're two different things, right?
So he's talking about two different things here: tax avoidance versus tax evasion. Tax evasion is obviously illegal. That's something that you just shouldn't do. Now, tax avoidance is something that a lot of wealthy people use to grow and accumulate their wealth. You can use a Roth IRA or use life insurance to grow your money, because it's a tax-free vehicle where you can avoid paying taxes.
That's a different conversation altogether.
I would duck that straight.
Everybody out of scene. Everybody out of camera.
I'm cool.
So the whole point, your whole point, is to pay as little taxes as possible. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is why it's important to be a business owner. This is why it's important to have deductions. This is why it's important to have employees, because the tax code, once again, is not set up for employees. The tax code is set up for entrepreneurs and investors, landowners.
In this segment here, he's talking about how to avoid and minimize your tax bracket as being an entrepreneur. When you're an entrepreneur, you have business expenses, you have employees, you're able to write that off and minimize your tax bracket. As an employee, that's something that you're not able to do.
These are the. Who do you think writes the tax code? This is something that people don't fully understand. And one thing that you can't do if you're trying to become wealthy, you can't beef with information. Don't argue with information. Don't
or
fight
legislation.
With yeah, but the thing is, like, if you're not qualified to speak, you have to listen. If you're not qualified to speak, you have to listen. This is where humility comes into play. So, all right. Having said that, the ILIT, Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust, very important to understand why this is even important. So, the Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust is when you have a life insurance policy, but you're not the owner. The trust, you have a trust set up, and the trust is the owner of the life insurance. Now, why is this important? Because if you own life insurance in your own personal name, right, and you die, now that gets added into your estate. Now, if you're worth $5 million and you have a $5 million life insurance policy, now you are actually, your estate is $10 million. It's actually a issue because now you have what's called estate tax. You can study what happened to Prince. You can study what happened to Michael Jackson. When you don't have an estate plan, the government comes and they want money within 90 days. So now you have to, this is why the whole estate sale, when you see a lot of musicians like Elvis Presley, they selling his guitar because they don't have enough money. So now you got to do a fire sale and start selling things, start selling autographed jerseys, start selling homes because you got to raise money to give it to the IRS. That's because they didn't do estate planning. Extremely important to understand this.
In this segment right here, he's talking about estate taxes and why it's important to avoid those. A very successful family that avoided estate taxes were the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers have a trust in the Rockefeller name, and they put their life insurance as the owners of the trust. This is one of the major benefits that allowed them to avoid estate taxes.
So to avoid the life insurance causing an issue, then you can put it in a trust. And being that it's in a trust, it doesn't get added to your estate because you don't own it. The estate owns it.
Yeah.
That is the benefit of it. Now, what it also can do is pay estate taxes, because if you have taxes that are due, now you can use a portion of the life insurance policy that's owned by the estate, tax-free, to pay your estate taxes. And a variety of different other things that you can actually do to set it up. So, like I said, it's not for everybody. But a lot of people listen to Market Mondays. So I'm assuming that some of the people probably are in that situation where they are wealthy. You just by the number, if 100,000 people listen to this, some are wealthy. And that's just the law of large numbers. And like I said, if you yourself are not wealthy, that's okay.
You're going to get there.
At some point,
Stay with us long enough.
When you are there, it's better to have the information as opposed to not having the information. We saw it happen. Rest in peace to Takeoff. He didn't have a will, didn't have any estate plan in place. His parents, I guess they're not together anymore. And now allegedly they're, fighting over his situation. And it's in probate and it's the whole thing. So it's like these things keep happening. They keep happening. It was happening in the 60s with Jimi Hendrix. It happened with Prince. It happened with Michael Jackson.
Tupac.
It happened as recently with Takeoff.
So this is very important here. You're talking about why it's so important, making sure your estate is taken care of. Michael Jackson, Prince, Offset, their family had to fight over and make sure their assets were taken care of because they didn't properly set up to have a trust to make sure everything was protected within the trust. Now they're going through probate. Probate is something that you want to avoid at all costs because all that really means at the end of the day, you're going to pay taxes on something that you already own.
Generations keep making the same mistake because they're not educated and they're not informed. And you're not planning for your death because you're thinking that it's superstitious that if you think about death, you're going to die. Well, newsflash, you're going to die. It's 100%. It's 100% chance you're going to die. That's the thing about it. It's 100% chance. I've never met a person that has not. I've never met a person that is 300 years old.
They're not die proof.
500 years old.
They're not die proof.
I've never met a person that's immortal.
Yep.
I've never met a person that has Elon Musk, all the money that I've never met a person that has become immortal yet. Yep. Who knows? Maybe they are. I just never met them. I've never met an immortal person before. I never met somebody.
Maybe with some of them babies, they put like in that Matrix womb, they'll be able to live for 300 years.
Put them in the bubble.
The Matrix pod.
Jesus.
Put them in the bubble. The real bubble.
That's the other big podcast boom we gonna see.
Yeah.
The Matrix pod.
Reach out to your trusted lawyer. Get your estate plan in order. this is extremely important. And this is what I'm doing myself as of right now. I'm getting my estate plan in order. So even if you're not at the level to get a trust, check your beneficiaries, get life insurance, get a power of attorney, get a healthcare proxy, get your estate plan order. We're at the top of the year. Everybody's setting a New Year's resolution. This is a good resolution for you to have. Have a conversation with your family, have a conversation with your children. You know, sometimes you got to have uncomfortable conversations. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that. I'm sure we'll probably, like I said, at some point we should probably bring a lawyer on and we can have an even more in-depth conversation. But
so this is very important here. He's talking about the benefits of making sure you sit down with your family. You have this conversation. It's 100% chance that you will die. So you want to make sure that you have a trust set up, you have estate planning set up, and you have life insurance set up where you're able to avoid taxes and do exactly what the wealthy people do to grow their money, just like the Rockefellers. If you have a mom, if you have a dad, you have a brother, a sister, a niece, a nephew, you all have to sit down, have that uncomfortable conversation on what you need to do to be able to grow and accumulate more wealth, where the family is able to get ahead, to start a business, to be able to fund college for kids, to be able to make sure you're taken care of and be able to accumulate more wealth for you and your family. With that being said, this is Joe Smith, aka Mr. Businessman, host of the YouTube channel Big Business. If you want to learn more about how to create more wealth for you and your family, comment estate in the comment section and we'll get back to you soon.
Big Business.